Welcome back to All Sam Recaps. Today we're breaking down Cheaper by the Dozen. If you love this kind of story, hit subscribe before we jump in. Imagine trying to keep a family together when every person inside the house needs something different from you. One child wants attention. Another wants freedom. Another is quietly struggling to find their place. Now imagine doing that with 12 children. For most people, that sounds impossible. But for Paul and Zoe Baker, this is their everyday life, a home that's loud, unpredictable, and constantly one step away from falling apart. But behind all that chaos is a family trying to figure out how to actually become one. Because bringing people together under one roof is easy. Making them feel like they truly belong is the real challenge. Paul Baker believes being a good father means protecting his family, providing for them, and proving he can handle anything life throws at him. But raising a huge blended family isn't a problem with a simple solution. Every child is different, with their own personality, their own fears, their own dreams. That's what makes the Baker family special, and also what makes their lives so complicated. Standing beside Paul is Zoe, his wife and partner in this impossible mission. While Paul focuses on keeping things organized and moving forward, Zoe understands the emotional side of parenting. She knows kids don't only need rules, they need connection. They need to feel heard, and to know that even in a house full of people, they still matter as individuals. Together, Paul and Zoe are juggling everything: their careers, their marriage, their finances, and 12 kids who all need attention in completely different ways. The household is a blend of kids from previous relationships and kids they've had together, so the dynamics are never simple. The older kids want independence. The younger ones need constant guidance. And the ones caught in between are just trying to figure out where they belong. On top of it all, Paul and Zoe are trying to keep their family biscuit business alive, and the financial pressure is constant. Money is tight, time is tighter, and the strain of holding everything together is wearing on both of them. Their house is never quiet, someone's always running late, frustrated, or needing help. And in the middle of that noise, it's easy to miss the quieter problems, the feelings that never get said out loud. In a family this big, the loudest voices get heard first, but the quiet ones can need the most attention. Some kids love the energy of a big family. Others struggle with sharing everything: their space, their parents, their identity. They're all part of the same family, but they're all experiencing it differently, and that creates tension, not because they don't love each other, but because love alone doesn't make every problem disappear. With the business struggling and tension at home building, Paul starts to feel like he's losing control of the one thing he's always been proud of. So he comes up with a plan: take the family away together, and they'll grow closer. A fresh start, a chance to escape the bills and the arguments and remind everyone they're not just 12 people living under one roof, they're a family. Paul imagines the perfect getaway: everyone laughing, bonding, finally feeling connected. But he doesn't understand yet that a change of location doesn't change what people are feeling inside. Sometimes stepping away from routine only makes hidden emotions impossible to ignore. As the Bakers prepare to leave, everyone carries different expectations: some excited, some unsure, some already worried that more forced time together will only create more problems. But Paul stays confident. He's managed the chaos for years. How hard could one trip be? He's about to find out. When the Bakers arrive, they quickly realize the problems they hoped to leave behind followed them the whole way. The disagreements are still there. The emotions everyone's been carrying are still there, just waiting to surface. A new scenery can shift the mood for a while, but it can't erase what's happening inside people's hearts. And then, just when Paul thinks he has enough on his plate, someone from his past shows up: his old rival, Dom Clayton. Dom represents everything Paul feels pressured to measure himself against: confidence, success, total control. Seeing him again throws Paul off balance. Instead of being present with his family, Paul starts comparing, wondering if he's doing enough, if his family looks successful enough, if he's built something impressive enough to stand next to Dom's picture-perfect life. Slowly, the trip meant to bring the family closer turns into an unspoken competition. It seems harmless at first: a little rivalry, a little motivation. But every moment Paul spends trying to prove himself to Dom is a moment lost with the people who actually came on this trip for him. His kids didn't come to watch their dad compete, they came to spend time with him. And soon, Paul learns the hardest lesson of the trip: the greatest threat to his family was never another father trying to outshine him. It's the distance quietly growing between him and the people he loves most. Once Dom is back in the picture, Paul can't let a moment pass without turning it into a contest. If Dom shows off something new, Paul needs something bigger. He starts organizing activities not because his kids will enjoy them, but because they'll impress Dom. He corrects them in front of Dom's family, pushing them to perform instead of just being themselves. Zoe sees exactly where this is heading. She pulls Paul aside and tells him the kids don't care about impressing Dom's family, they care about having their dad's attention. But Paul brushes it off, telling himself he's doing this for the family. that proving they're doing well will make everyone feel proud instead of stressed. What he doesn't realize is that his kids were never asking him to prove anything. They just wanted him there, fully, without the performance. And the more he chases Dom's approval, the more his own family becomes an afterthought in a competition nobody else wanted to be part of. As Paul stays focused on competing, he doesn't notice the people closest to him growing frustrated. The trip is no longer about the kids, it's about their dad proving a point. But they were never looking for a perfect family experience. They're looking for their father, for him to notice them, to actually listen, to understand that even with 12 of them, every child still has their own story and their own needs. Being part of a big family can be amazing, but it can also make people feel invisible. When everyone needs attention at once, the person who needs it quietly gets forgotten. That's exactly what starts happening here. The kids aren't angry because Paul doesn't love them, they're hurt because they feel like he doesn't actually see them anymore. Zoe sees the problem long before Paul does. She knows his intentions come from a good place, but his need to prove himself is creating the opposite result. He's trying so hard to show everyone he has the perfect family that he's forgetting to take care of the family he already has. She reminds him their children don't need perfect parents, they need present parents. They don't need a competition, they need connection. But admitting that the way you've been trying to help is actually making things worse is hard, and Paul isn't ready yet. As the trip continues, small disagreements turn into bigger conflicts, because these arguments were never really about the small things. They're about everything quietly building underneath, the feeling of being ignored, of being misunderstood, of everyone else getting what they need except you. The family has spent so much energy adjusting to their new blended life that they've forgotten something important. They actually have to talk to each other, not just live together. Eventually, everything bottled up comes out. The kids finally say what they've been feeling, how hard it is being part of such a large blended family, how much they want one-on-one attention, how their own struggles get swallowed up because there's always something bigger happening around them. For Paul, hearing this is genuinely painful, because for the first time, he sees the situation from his children's point of view. He realizes he's been measuring his success as a father the wrong way. He thought it meant providing everything, creating perfect experiences, keeping everyone looking happy. But being a good parent isn't about building a perfect life for your children. It's about making them feel loved inside the imperfect one they already have. Finally understands his children were never asking him to fix every problem. They were asking him to listen, to slow down, to actually see them, not as a group, but as individual people, each needing love in a different way. Being fair doesn't always mean treating everyone the same. Sometimes it means understanding what each person actually needs. Zoe has always known that a family can't be built through control, only through trust. Now Paul finally sees it too. The chaos was never the real enemy, it was proof that this house was full of people with different personalities and dreams, all trying to coexist under one roof. The real problem was that everyone was trying to be heard at the same time, and nobody was actually listening. Slowly, the family begins to change. They stop pretending everything is fine and start being honest, admitting when they're hurt, when they're struggling, when becoming one family has been harder than expected. But those uncomfortable conversations are exactly what bring them closer. Because sometimes the moments that feel like they're breaking a family apart are actually the moments that rebuild it. For the first time in a long time, everyone starts to genuinely understand each other. They were never broken. They were just learning how to fit together. As Paul finally lets go of his rivalry with Dom, he sees what actually matters. Winning against another person means nothing if you lose the connection with your own family. The approval of people outside his home doesn't matter. The only thing that matters is the people who'll still be standing beside him when everything else fades away, and those people were right there the entire time. Zoe, his children, his family. By the end of the trip, the Baker family isn't magically perfect. They still argue, still make mistakes, still create chaos wherever they go, because that's simply who they are. But something is different now. They understand each other better. They know their differences aren't what separates them, their differences are what make them special. Every single person has a place in this family, and every person matters. That's what finally turns a house full of different people into a real family. Paul began this story believing that being a great father meant having all the answers. He ends it understanding that sometimes the greatest thing a parent can do is admit they're still learning too. Because children don't need perfect parents. They need parents who grow alongside them, who listen, who choose them again and again, even on the hard days. That's the true lesson behind Cheaper by the Dozen. Family isn't about having a life where nothing goes wrong. It's about having people who stay together when things do go wrong. It's about forgiveness, patience, and love. Because the strongest families aren't the ones that never fight, they're the ones that always find their way back to each other. And after everything they've been through, the Bakers finally understand that their biggest strength was never being perfect. Their biggest strength was being together. And that was Cheaper by the Dozen, too, a story that reminds us family isn't measured by how peaceful life looks from the outside, but by the effort people make to actually understand each other. Sometimes the people people who annoy us the most are also the people who love us the most. If this recap brought back the whole movie for you, hit that like button, drop a comment, and subscribe to Sam Recaps so you don't miss the next one. And before you go, would you survive living in a house with 12 siblings? Thanks for watching. I'll see you in the next recap.